my channel. This is a stream of my workouts for the year. I'm doing this body transformation. The thing that sets my body transformation apart from other body transformations is I'm not using any sort of supplements. So that's no protein shakes, no like protein powder, no creatine, no BCAAs, nothing extra. Just trying to get all my nutrients from the food that I eat. And yeah, that's about it. I'm going to be doing shoulders today. Going to knock out some shoulder presses. It's going to be so much fun. And then if I can get through those with time, I'm going to do some shoulder shrugs. So let's jump right into this with the 10 pounds, 4.53 kilograms. And like I said in my, if you haven't popped in for the chat, I would love to talk about some fun stuff. If you have any ideas of fun things to talk about, let's do it. There's a lot of serious things going on in the world right now, and I think it's nice to kind of step away from that and listen to some serious news stuff, and it's good to get away from that and to kind of look at some positive stuff for a second, kind of keep the sanity. I came across this movie, I think like 2 years ago, or like whenever it first popped up on Netflix, called RRR. It's an Indian movie. It's a lot of fun. It's about like classic, two guys are friends, but one's a cop, one's not a cop, one's a revolutionary, and they are the police officer is trying to find the revolutionary. Well, he's not really revolutionary, but it's a really good movie. If you get a chance, I would watch it. Um, it gives you a chance to watch it in Hindi with English subtitles, and I think that's the best way to watch it. The funniest part is, even though it's an Indian movie, Hindi is not the actual language that it was filmed in. And you have to forgive me, but I don't remember the name of the language that was filmed in. But I guess it's one of the more popular languages in India. I think it's one of the fascinating things about a country like India is how big it is. We like classify it with one, name, India, and I think a lot of us in the U.S., at least I've been guilty of it in the past, just don't realize how many different groups of people live in India and how many different languages, how it all works. It's really fascinating. And it's fun because it's a Indian people groups versus the British, which is always something that I think us Americans can relate to. Even though we get along with the British these days, it's always fun to harken back to when we were rebels and fighting against the British like so many other people. All right, going to the 20 pounds, still warming up. The fun part about like a country like India and so many countries, when you get out of just looking at American history or the history of Western civilizations, there's so many just awesome legends from other countries. Guys that were just doing incredible things, fighting hard, and fighting for the same things that we fight for or believe in this country. I feel like there's an idea. I think sometimes we forget in the U.S. how most of the world wants the same freedom and liberty that we enjoy here, and that people have been fighting for that same liberty and freedom forever. And there's so many just awesome heroes in different countries that we just never heard of that have like epic tales that would blow us away, but it's just not, you know, not something that we really look into. Plus, I like the dances in R&R. There's a lot of really cool. I like dance. I like dancing. So there's a really cool dance scene, and there's a lot of humor in the movie too. If you ever get a chance, if you're ever hanging out from with someone from a different culture, a different background, just just for fun, ask them about their heroes, their national heroes, and what they did, and they'll tell you. You'll hear some cool stories. And the fun part is when it's a hero from a different country that is so awesome and so incredible that the person telling you the story can't fathom that you never knew about this hero. They're that cool. They just assumed everybody in the world knew about this guy. You know, that's always fun. There's so many legendary people in this world. The other fun one with other cultures, being as we're going into October, or it is October, and Halloween's around the corner, asking other cultures about their scary stories. And not just scary stories, but their mythical creatures is fun. Like their takes on ghosts. Like in China, ghosts like hop around a lot in some areas, and that's because they bind the feet, or they tie the ankles and feet of ghosts, or not ghosts but corpses, together so that they can't walk when they become ghosts. So in the stories, if there's a ghost, it's like has to hop around, which is very comical when you think about a ghost doing like a little bunny hop around. It's comical to me. Very funny image to me. The Irish have a bunch of really weird ones once you get into it. I feel like Harry Potter kind of introduced a lot of mythical creatures and a wide variety of mythical creatures to look up. Like with the Irish getting into fairy lore and all the different things surrounding fairies and leprechauns is always fascinating. I had a great uncle, or great great uncle, that was the kind of the family drunk. And my grandpa told me a story one time. He was in their house, and my grandpa was playing in the living room on the floor. My great uncle, his hand touched the floor, and all of a sudden, as soon as it touched the floor, like he snatched it up, like he was terrified. And my grandpa asked him what happened or why he did that, and he said because at night or anytime you're asleep, if your hand touches the floor, the little people will come and bend your fingers back until they break. So you never sleep with your hand on the floor. That's a fun one. That's a fun thought. Little little dudes snapping your fingers. I know in the Philippines they had, like, there were some Filipino girls I knew when I was a kid. I was really young, and we were all camping, and they told stories about little people, tiny people that run around in the Philippines causing mischief. And when I was a kid, of course, my grandpa told me about La Llorona and the Chupacabra. Those were big, big family stories. It's always fun. Now that I have kids, I haven't told my kids the story of La Llorona, but there's other like scary things that we were told when we were kids. And I think back, I'm like, man, we were pretty young. Like I'm looking at Beetlejuice, and I was like, I think I saw Beetlejuice when I was like 4 years old. And there's some like decently scary stuff in the first Beetlejuice, especially when you don't, you know. I think the scariest part of the Beetlejuice for me when I was a kid was when they open up the wall and there's the souls floating around in the window, and then I think when they are the bride and groom and they start to die. As a kid, that was like the scarier part of Beetlejuice. And I think the sandworm was pretty scary too. The other one I saw around the same age, and it was 4, was Willow. And Willow was scary. I remember like when the evil queen like starts looking really scary at the end of the movie. I remember that was scary. And the trolls were scary to me as a kid. That was the scarier part about Willow. But the first movie I remember that absolutely terrified me was the third Aliens. And I think I saw the third Aliens when I was like 7 or 8. And that was scary. That was like the first time I remember having a really hard time going to sleep as a kid. That's from Aliens. But we didn't see a lot of scary movies when I was a kid. It was mostly like movies that had scary stuff in them. Like just randomly. Like Beetlejuice is not necessarily like a scary movie, or Willow's not necessarily a scary movie, just small scary elements to them. Like we saw, what was it? Man, I saw this like preview the other day for it. The Never Ending Story. That wasn't like a scary movie, but it had that like the nightmare or the nothing, the werewolf that was running around, whatever that was. That was scary. Well, what we did do was read a lot of scary stories. And probably not something that happens as much now, but we told scary stories. My kids like scary stories. They ask me to tell scary stories. I tell them scary stories, but I usually change the ending a little bit and make it less scary in the end. Like I do the story, Tally Pole, which is like a hunter shoots this creature in the dark, but only shoots off its tail. And he's hungry, so he eats the tail, and then later on, the creature comes to his cabin and breaks in and tears open his stomach to get his tail back. So I tell that story to my kids, but I tell them that when the creature shows up, the hunter is so scared, he throws the tail up because he's scared, so he throws it up, and then the creature makes him clean the vomit off, and then the creature goes off with its tail. So it's scary. Like there's scary elements to it, but it ends in silliness, so it throws off the scary bit. Someday when they're older, I'll tell them the full tale. So try to make them silly. I try my best to keep my kids from being paralyzed by fear from things. Um, Anytime, like Halloween's around the corner, and we're gonna be going, trick or treating. So they're gonna see scary houses with scary things. So what I do is I take them to like the different stores that sell Halloween stuff, and they sell like all the like scary monster stuff. And I show them that, and I let them play with it and touch it, and see the jump scares, so they know that it's all fake and it's a toy and it's not gonna hurt them. So, and they do really well with that. There's one that scared my youngest pretty bad when we first went to the store, and now they still get kind of like excited when they see it, but they have learned like to laugh it off and that it's not scary. And then when they see other things that jump at them, they're doing better with not being scared about that. Like they know it's not real. So, and that's a big thing for me is getting my kids to be able to handle fear and rationalize through things. Don't let things stop you. I do think it's important to like address fears and stuff and give your kids a chance to express themselves and what scares them. And then going from there to getting them to move past it and conquer those fears. So, the idea of like just I just don't want to over shelter them. And especially things that are like fake. Like the last thing I want is them to be scared of fake things. But we do things like we we go on hikes in the dark and stuff and help them see that there's nothing that they have to be afraid of with the dark. But we do teach them like how to be responsible, like understanding when there is like real danger. Like we don't live in the greatest of areas, so like my kids understand that there's bad people that live around us and they can't go wandering off because you know they're vulnerable, and teaching them how to assess threats and how not to be duped by people that try to get them to trust them that are not good people, how to recognize when older kids are trying to tell them to do bad things, and how to stand up for themselves. And the big thing for me is teaching my kids to have good instincts or to listen to their instincts, to learn how to judge something appropriately, to assess whether or not something's good or bad. Sometimes I feel like in American society, we like, or at least in California, we teach people to ignore their instincts. And it's in the idea of like, hey, you can't judge a book by its cover. But I feel like the message when people say that, what happens is that people don't make judgments, period. Like they like that like shuts off the part of their brain that's dedicated to assessing threats. Like, oh well, then I just won't, make any assessment without like a deep understanding of the person. And I don't think that's absolutely necessary to make an assessment on safety. And then people don't know how to handle unsafe situations, or ask for help when they are in unsafe situations. But though, I am excited Halloween's coming. I'm gonna be busting out some of my old costumes for this stream for fun. My favorite costume being my pirate's costume. That, if you go look back, I think it's too late to see it now, but you can see it on my YouTube channel. I was having fun with my pirate costume a couple of weeks ago. And that's my favorite costume. That's one that I've been building for a long time. It's hard for me to justify going out and spending a lot of money on an authentic pirate costume. So what I've done for years now is every year like add pieces to it. So like adding the boots, which weren't cheap, and then getting a hat, and then getting more authentic pants, an authentic shirt. Like over the years, I've been building my pirate costume, I think, for like maybe 5 years. So I think I have the sword. The next thing I want to get is um, pistols with a gun belt and a powder horn. So you have to have all three. You can't have the pistols without the gun belt, and you can't have the pistols without a powder horn. Then you just look ridiculous. You need the powder horn. And then I want a really nice jacket. Maybe a vest. But it's a lot of fun. I encourage anyone to pick like a really cool costume idea and then just build it over time. When I'm done with my pirate's costume, I'm gonna go for a very cool barbarian Viking costume, or Celt style costume. Get like the big leather belt, the axes, the fur leather armor. Be a lot of fun. The great part about the pirate costume, though, is you can go trick or treating for alcohol, and people love giving alcohol to pirates. I've never had a year where I was wearing the pirate costume where I couldn't get enough alcohol for free to really drive home the drunk pirate. Nice and warm today. Got my front yard picked all up so I can put in my Halloween decorations today. Super excited about that. That's gonna be a lot of fun. All right. Switch over to shoulder shrugs. That's my tripod out fast. There we go. Up close and personal with myself. All right, I'm gonna switch up to 50 pounds. Real fast, gotta adjust my dumbbells real quick. An important part is to make sure I'm standing, or my knee is pointing the proper way when I stand back up with these guys. 4 weeks ago now, my knee was pointing the wrong way and I stood up. Made all sorts of unusual sounds. It has not been terribly happy with me since. Although it's a lot better than it was. That being said, I'd rather not have it make those noises again. It's very unsettling. Feels so much lighter when you put the 50-pound dumbbells down. A few more seconds. Be right back. One of my kids is awake. Be right back. All right, one more quick set, and then I gotta go. All right. Sorry, but my kid is awake. They're potty training, and they took off their diaper. It took me a second to find where they put their diaper, but I found it. But I do have to go now because they're awake. Thank you so much for coming by. Hope you had a good Tuesday. God bless you.